Indeed. Well, on that note, everyone, welcome to the September Q3 FINOS All Community Call. I am your MC for the day, Karl Moll, Technical Project Advocate here at FINOS. So today's agenda, we have a very action-packed agenda. So I will get things started off. We're slightly restructuring things with welcome and calls to action, followed by an intro to the community from Jane Gavronsky, and Grizz will give us some updates on OSFF. And then we have a lot of SIG project and community updates. And then we will end with final announcements. And as a reminder, this event and all other FINOS events adhere to the FINOS and Linux Foundation Community Code of Conduct. So, starting with our calls to action, one thing that we're just a reminder to everyone is that FINOS actively uses the Good First Issues tag in GitHub. So related to a lot of other efforts, and DEI might talk about this later today, and kind of for larger onboarding efforts, it would really help us. This is a call to action for all our project maintainers and project contributors to please review your project's Good First Issues and to make sure that you're properly utilizing the tags within the issues. So if you scan this QR code, you can see this link that goes to this query in GitHub on these labels to see what's already there. But this will really be actively pointing people to this link a lot more going forward as part of a couple other issues. So if you have, you want new contributors being funneled into your projects, this is the great way to really target the top of the funnel. And you can work with the FINOS team on understanding what your needs are and kind of what you have available there. The second announcement is we have an ongoing tech sprint from now until the end of OSFF. So come code with us. Tomorrow we have a in-person coding event hosted at Microsoft's office in Times Square in New York City. There's also an option to attend that session virtually. So if you scan this QR code, it'll take you to the registration page for the Tech Sprint event. We're building integrations with TraderX. So if you go to this registration page, you can see it'll bring you to the GitHub and show you use cases for existing projects. And it'll also give you a link to the blog post showing the ongoing videos and presentations of projects that you can join and code on going into OSFF. And we'll have a project showcasing some of these integrations. So if you'd like to start coding, if you'd like to get hands on, please register. And if you can't attend the event tomorrow, please register as virtual. And that way we can still work with engaging with you between now and the end of September. And with that, handing over to Jane.
Thanks, Karl. Hi, everyone. I'm Jane Gavronsky. I'm COO at FINOS. And for the past 6 weeks and 4 weeks before that, I also looked after the foundation while Gab took well-deserved paternity leave, and he's back here with us. So I want to welcome you all, but also welcome Gab back. Not a moment too soon, because, it was a lot to carry, and I'm glad you're back. Speaking of a lot to carry, since the last time we met with you guys, a lot has been going on. Among things that were very exciting and took a lot of our energy and planning, but we got a lot of really great feedback and kind of a lot of energy from the community on, is OSFF London. So OSFF in London happened at the end of June, and it was a fantastic event. As I said, we had tremendous energy, over 500 attendees. We awarded community awards across the community to people who have really carried the flag for the foundation, for the project. People like David Schoen from ISDA, Mike Minette from Turntable, Paula Paul from Grayshore. The Rune team received an award, Jamie Sloan, James McLeod, Fionn Ackland. These are really outstanding leaders and contributors to the community, but they're just some of them, and there was more on display at the conference. We also had a very successful tabletop exercise led by FINOS member ControlPlane, which got really fantastic feedback. We launched our AI strategic initiative, and as Karl was talking about the tech sprint that's going on, that's very active there. And we announced the merger of OS Climate into FINOS as what's known as an SDF, Supplemental Directed Fund. So there was a lot going on. But after June, when we took a couple of days break, after that, we had a very active July and August. The Rune contribution was announced by Rignosis. We are announcing another project contribution today. We had many new members join, and that was also covered at OSFF. But we've had many members join since, which we will now cover in our announcements at the upcoming OSFF in a few weeks. And as Karl said, we've had a few hands-on events. So back in the late spring, we had a hands-on hackathon in Barcelona. And the FINOS tech sprint that's running now is generating a lot of energy as well. So we kept really busy thanks to you. And that means that the community has kept really busy. And we're really excited to share all of this and more with you in a few weeks. And now I think 2.5 weeks. So if you haven't already, please do sign up to OSFF and you'll hear a lot more about this from us. But most importantly, I'll wrap up with this. Gab, welcome back. And times couldn't be any more exciting or active. So thanks everybody for keeping it so. Karl, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Jane. And next time we'll make sure we can get Gab back into the rotation for the community calls. And now handing over to Grizz for OSFF announcements.
Thank you, Karl. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. OSFF, as Jane just said, is in about 2.5 weeks. It is on September 30th and October 1st in New York. And the main thing that you need to know, especially if you are a FINOS member and have you not signed up and you are attending or intending to attend, is that free FINOS member registration ends tomorrow at midnight. So please make sure, if you do not have your member code, to send us an email, osff@finos.org. You should have also received about 1,000 emails from us that has your free member code. So if you do not have it, again, email us. We're happy to send it to you, and we'd love for you to share it with your colleagues as well. Next slide, please. And here's the registration information right here. If you want to go ahead and take 10 seconds to take a picture of either of these two QR codes, if you want to see the full agenda, it's on the right. If you want to register now, it's on the left. And you can't actually click on the link. I understand that. But again, please go ahead and register now. And if you have any problems, just let us know. So that's enough about the conference itself. Let's go into something that we've added this year into the next one. So in London, we added something that was running simultaneously throughout OSFF, and that was the Cloud Native Incident Response Readiness Tabletop exercise. So we still have some spots open we're doing that again right before OSFF on Monday morning. OSFF starts at 1 o'clock. This will start at 9 o'clock in the morning. And if you are or have a CISO or a security professional within your company, please send them this information. We will send these slides out to all of you afterwards with the links, because we had a really good engagement from CISOs and security professionals in London. We had about 11 people that joined. And instead of going for an hour, they went for 2 hours. And because it was just really good to vibe off of each other and figure out, how do we actually handle security situations that come up. There is a preference on bank members first, but you do not have to be a member. Go ahead and sign up. We also have workshops that are happening during OSFF for them. You'll see there's a CDM trend here, but we have an AI workshop that's AI meets CDM. An introduction to CDM, Common Domain Model, and then also DRR and ORR. And then finally, we're actually doing, for the first time, FTC3 training that will actually lead to the ability for you to go online, take the 3 training for real, and be able to get certification. But if you have any of your developers that are working in FTC3, this is a great place to just get them started. We also have 2, and it will probably be 3 satellite workshops. We'll have a open source readiness roundtable that will be before OSFF. And we'll also have an open source climate physical risks workshop that you'll hear more about from our OS climate speaker. So there's a lot going on at OSFF. There's a lot going on before OSFF, and we'll probably be having another workshop after OSFF as well on CCC. So we'll send these slides out. Get in touch with us if you have any troubles registering. We'd love to see you in 2.5 weeks. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Grizz. And with that, we are great in terms of agenda, despite having started late. So big thank you to Jane and Grizz on that. Going ahead, we now invite Peter Smulovics from the Technical Oversight Committee to give us an update with also an exciting announcement from another guest project contributor.
Yeah, we'll make sure we are late. No, I'm just kidding. So what is the Technical Oversight Committee? So every organization, FINOS involved, meets those gray eminences who are overseeing the technical decisions. So that is what we are doing. You can see what is on the screen, but I would like to avoid saying words like enterprise, words like synergy and nurturing and strategies. We want to focus on the value that we are bringing in the ownership of the FINOS project landscape. Let it be the different standards, the metrics we create, the best practices we define, the alignment we have between them, giving us the strategic guidance to the board about community mentorship, the hackathons that we organize and help in, and something that's very relevant today and now, which is the landscape growth, working in finding, funding, founding, and reviewing new projects and promoting the existing ones, and finding new use cases inside and outside FINOS for these projects. And we do need your help. You can see that QR code on the top right. There is the TOC, the Technical Steering Committee, the Technical Oversight Committee elections going on. The submission period will end just with FF New York City, so October 2nd. The 5 seats are up for the election, so please do consider applying to this role. And without further ado, I would like to give the stage to HTC Grid from AWS, a new project that has been coming through our helping hands.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Kirill Bogdanov. I'm a principal solutions architect at AWS, and I work with global financial services, primarily in the area of high-performance computing. And I would like to take just 2 minutes to briefly introduce you to a project that has been recently donated. It's called HTC Grid. When it comes to high-performance computing, there are many factors such as increasing market volatility, regulatory requirements, and aging hardware that pose challenges for financial services to operate and scale their compute grids on-premise and do it efficiently. And due to these challenges, many financial institutions choose to migrate their workloads into the cloud and also take the opportunity to modernize their grids and design cloud-native solutions. And you can imagine this is a very difficult and challenging process. So to help financial institutions, we have released HTC Grid, which is a reusable blueprint that provides a reference architecture for a modern containerized HTC solutions. Now, it uses cloud native services and it addresses the challenges above. And it also outlines the modernization paths that fits many financial services. Now, HTC Grid is a result of multiple prototyping engagement that we have with our customers, and it incorporates a lot of our learnings, benchmarks, and best practice. Today, the architecture itself was quite thoroughly tested, and the grid systems that were built on top of this blueprint are running in production in multiple European banks. Just to give you an idea of the operational characteristics of the system, the grid can scale beyond 80,000 virtual CPUs and at the same time achieve throughput above 30,000 tasks per second. So this is particularly important when you have a high volume of short-running tasks, which are common in the risk analytics in banks. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the main reasons why we share this project is primarily to share the learnings that we have and also to develop the project further with the broader community. And moreover, we would like to collaborate with FINOS members to build ultimately a multi-cloud open source grid system. So I welcome you all to go through our code base and hopefully become a contributor to the project. And I look forward to meet many of you in person in an open source conference in New York in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Very exciting stuff. Thank you very much, Kirill. Next up, Vicente and Herrera from ControlPlane and myself on giving an update from the Artificial Intelligence Strategic Initiative. Vicente, if you could talk about the simple governance framework.
Yes, thank you, Karl. Let me start with a little recap of what we have been doing since the beginning. We started 6 months ago trying to define a governance framework that would help financial organizations to make operational use of AI. And since the beginning, we started in the very first session just working on a whiteboard and putting some threads and controls together, brainstorming ideas. So the way we chose to work is to start with a small scope that we could increment little by little. And that way we could also cement the ways of working, defining what was the best tools to put the information together, start generating interest into people that would join and at some point also and contribute. So far, what we have set to do is we have a scope that is for a governance framework, which is a RAG application, a retrieval augmented generation application, which you use as an inference endpoint, and you use it for your own users to query information from a data store, a Confluence website maybe that is on your own. That is what we identified that was like the most common case of what people could use that was very simple to start with. We have defined threats regarding that architecture. We have defined controls regarding that architecture. We have had several discussions refining things. Now, the current state is that we are publishing the result of all this work. There is still some final changes that we will be doing. And for that, we will hold tomorrow in New York City, we will have 2 sessions. One of them with people live that can pick up some of the threats or controls and help refine them, better describe them, and have a voice. That's the important part. Have anybody from any, provider or financial organization be able to have a voice of what are their interests, what's the problem they're facing, and making sure they are reflected in what we are putting together. And that session will be very interesting to that. At the same time, we will have a session to set the next scope and the roadmap of what we want to do, what we made this more complex. One of the things, for example, that people sometimes argue is, well, governance framework, this is not a reference architecture. This is just like a guideline of things to do and how to do them. Is this necessary if there is a lot of guidelines out there already? Well, I think of this, and I have said for this analogy, as these kind of connectors that you can use to look different things. We want to tap into all that information, and the threats we already defined are referenced to OWASP top 10 or machine learning, and we will reference in NIST, we will reference in media and other things, put them all together and create a guide explaining to you how to apply them so you are not lost when you need to put your project in place. And for that, it's very important also to hear your voice about what is the thing that you need most right now, what is the thing that is causing you more problems, and that way help us define that roadmap and define the scope so we can little by little provide the best value to you. And just that the final version for the framework is planned to be completely released for OSFF. And the repository is open. There's tickets there if people want to contribute, comment of what we are putting together. This is just the last stretch for being able to make your voice for this specific milestone. I think that's my summary, Karl.
And yeah, and so right now, the really exciting thing here is we've been working, the SIG has been members only up until now. And so we're really looking forward to at OSFF really hitting this milestone of getting the governance framework contributed to open source, getting the roadmap contributed to open source, and then opening up the SIG to wider participation. So very excited for that. The other kind of exciting thing, and if you look at the organizational map, the very complicated organizational map here. So under the strategic initiative, we have the AI readiness SIG, but we also have what is currently called the LLM exploration initiative, which after at OSFF London, we hosted a series of use case design thinking workshops. From that, we got the use case identification of regulatory interpretation. which has led to current work on training models on understanding the common domain model and building use cases around that, which has involved kind of work very cross team on fine tuning, benchmarking, building knowledge graphs. We've worked with academic teams, AI for Finance, who built FinGPT. They wrote a paper called Financial Benchmarking, which has been informing our work. And then Provectus and some other teams have been working on building knowledge graphs, which I think there's a lot of potential for interactivity. So one of the things that we're really excited here, and I won't steal the thunder from later, is how much potential there is to interact with different teams. So from OS Climate, we're getting a data contribution framework. From CDM, we're getting, domain specific information for giving us use cases to train models on. From Zenith, we're working on getting actually open data sets. And the next, as a soft intro, Common Compliant Financial Infrastructure has been working on building implementations of the governance framework. So lots exciting here. The last thing to announce is that we are in the process of launching a research fund in Q1 of 2025. So please let us know if that is something that you have interest in participating in. And then final thing is to give the QR code that Grizz shared earlier to the workshops. But we do have this AI meets CDM workshop to showcase our learnings from this initiative at OSFF coming up in New York. So with that, handing over to Rudra from Compliant Financial Infrastructure.
Thanks, Karl. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys, depending on where you are. I just want to provide quick updates from the financial infrastructure side. So CFI is entering a new cycle. Previously, CFI was set out to just design policies and infrastructure as code to align with those policies. However, since last year, we paused our efforts after the launch of CCC. Now that CCC is producing outputs, that is the policies itself, we are ready to pick up where we left off and move things forward. So for that, we have made some good progress. We have created the ability to automatically ingest the CCC definitions through a control YAML that is produced by CCC during their release process. This allows us to set up to automate the setup of CFI modules and validators through a generator. It's a big step forward in streamlining our process and to quickly begin development on the controls while automatically sticking to the guidelines set forth by CCC with the controls itself. We are looking for hands-on contributors. So if you are or know someone who is a software engineer or infrastructure as code engineers, let us know via Slack. You can find us at #CFI channel. The other thing I wanted to mention was we have a monthly CFI community call that you guys can join. It's a great way to stay updated and to get involved with the ongoing developments and discussions within CFI. Thank you.
And the QR code linked here brings you to the Compliant Financial Infrastructure Hub repo. So please make sure to get involved. Really excited about seeing the work here, particularly in implementing these common cloud controls of the AI readiness framework. It's been really exciting to see over the last couple of weeks. And with that, Sergio Bettencourt from Citi to give us an update on the diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hey, Karl, thank you so much for the opportunity and hello to everyone out there. So right off the bat, we want to go ahead and make sure that we sort of reiterate or support what Karl had announced at the start of the group. One of the beautiful aspects of the diversity, equity, inclusion SIG is that we, are effectively soliciting volunteers from all walks of life. So these are some really good first issues for folks to jump in on. So we'll make sure that the tag is properly assigned to our GitHub book of work. And we look forward to those of you that have interest and passion for diversity, equity, inclusion, getting connected with us and, getting involved on the good work being done on the ground. What we kind of wanted to cover to kick off would be our OSFF 24 plans. So we're actually going to have the responsible AI practical steps from OSFF London. The idea is that the panel is to be shared. The idea is that the panel is to be shared contribution to the AI readiness SIG at OSFF NYC Keynote panel, which would be by Prajji Kashodian. Also, we'll also have an October 1st lunchtime session. So it's effectively going to be a networking session for women in financial services open source. That'll be hosted by Madeline Sewell with the FINOS governing board chair, which will be followed by an advancing diversity in open source, a journey of inclusion, innovation, authentic self-discovery panel. I have the privilege of participating in that panel. It will also be moderated by Rita Chaturvedi, who is also a co-chair in the DEI SIG. And then we also have participation from Goldman Sachs and Giant K. So, please, we look forward to your attendance and hopefully active engagement in the Q&A portion of that panel. We're also quite excited about our participation in the Grace Hopper Conference. What we can anticipate is on October 4th, NAS will be hosting an open source day that showcases FINOS and projects to diverse technologists. And it's also open to all Grace Hopper delegates. So it's 3,000 of the 30,000 delegates that attended in 2023. And then on October 9th, Professor Cyril Friedler has also been added to the Grace Hopper Conference Practical Steps for Tackling Bias in Software Engineering in the Age of AI panel. So again, Professor Friedler, a subject matter expert in her field. And so there's going to be a lot that we can glean from her participation in that particular event. We also did want to make sure that we kind of put out there our calls to action. So we're currently seeking member sponsors for FINOS Open Source Day at Grace Hopper on the 4th of October to support NIAB, which is an organization that's hosting a Grace Hopper conference. Some of the benefits that each of the organizations can experience would be branding in the Grace Hopper conference communications, offered a presentation at the networking break, and then representation at the official open source reception in Philadelphia this year. We're calling out Amex as they've already been identified as a sponsor and are currently engaged. So if we have any additional members that would like to get involved in this particular activity, we'd ask that you reach out to Rima Barometer. Her name is out there. Conversely, you can also reach out to me and we'll make sure that you get properly connected. Again, a great opportunity for exposure, to diverse technologists, but also to make meaningful contributions as part of the conversation in advancing FINOS DEI strategy. We also wanted to, again, just sort of plug we're currently seeking volunteers to assist with the build out and execution on some of our strategy for the remaining of the year. You do not necessarily need to be a technologist, to be involved in DEI. And so we do have opportunities that align to content creation. If you're interested in building microsites as well, we do have opportunities to get involved there. We're also looking for folks to get involved in some of our advocacy and events planning. Most immediately, we're looking to plan some local events in the New York and London locations, specifically due to critical mass of folks that have been involved in the DEI SIG to date. That said, if you are located in another location, please feel free to bring an event. Please feel free to join us in our DEI SIG conversations that are ongoing. The important thing is to, stand up, take a step forward, and we will do everything we can to support you in the success of your events and look forward to collaborating with you in this space. We're also looking for additional folks, again, to kind of take ownership for some of our GitHub tasks. There is a link there to the issue. But again, conversely, if you'd rather reach out to me directly, I can certainly, get the conversation started or put you in contact with the appropriate folks to take these items forward. So that effectively is our update on the DEI SIG for this community session. And I look forward to partnering with you all as we move forward. So on that note, back to you, Karl.
Sergio, thank you so much. And following up on that, the initial call to action that I shared with the Good First Issues page, we'll show that QR code up again at the end of the call. So if people want to be able to review that, we'll be going to the Grace Hopper conference. That will be one of the links that we'll use to engage with people, kind of coordinating with the DEI SIG on that. And just as a personal shout out, Professor Cyril Friedler was my undergrad thesis. So most of what I know about algorithms and a lot of what I know about responsible AI are from her, and she's phenomenal. So with that, I'm very excited to introduce Johnny Mattimore from Open Source Climate to talk about the merger with OS Climate and FINOS.
Hello, everybody. Hi, my name's Johnny Mattimore. Quick background. I'm a mathematician by training and a markets economist. I spent 15 years in banking, all in the capital markets side, and then 15 years in hedge funds, which was an extension of doing the same thing. And throughout my career, I've been looking at how new data can impact valuation. And in the banking system in particular, valuations drive capital. So I recently got involved about 3 years ago, shadowing the OS climate initiatives 3 years ago. So this was very cutting edge. It's all driven with a lot of government policy and a lot of academic work. 3 years later, I've now joined as a governing member of OS Climate's board and co-lead with BNP Paribas, which is led by Matt Sando, who's global head of physical risk at BNP. And together, Matt and I are driving the development of the next phase of the program for OS Climate Physical Risk Project. For those who aren't familiar with this, physical risk revolves all around the collateral that you use in the lending activities and the exposure people have to collateral in investment activities.
The reason I give you that background is physical risk is just about at the turning point where it used to be a de minimis consideration in lending activity, and it's becoming now material. Now, for it to be material, then you have to ask the question, how does it integrate into traditional finance systems, given that climate risk and physical risk are relatively new data sets and relatively new risks that the banking system and other financial services firms are trying to integrate. So there is the logic of why does FINOS and OS Climate come together. The timing is absolutely right to take all of the groundwork and the foundation work that's been done by the different member firms of OS Climate and to bring that benefit to the wider community of traditional finance firms that form the kernel of the membership of FINOS. Now, consequently, FINOS being a much larger organization, we're looking at how we can also leverage the knowledge and skills of the wider FINOS community to contribute to the development of the different projects in OS Climate and accelerate their integration and business value benefits for the members of FINOS. So that's the logic of one of the key logics of the merger. The second thing is there is more than just the physical risk project. There is also a data mesh project, which has been led by Red Hat for several years. And there is also a transition risk project, which originally was developed in Airbus, and that team now is part of Capgemini. There are some other projects as well, but those three projects form the kernel of how you actually start to look at the integration of risk engines for climate risk into traditional finance systems. And that's what we're embarking on for the next wave of program development for these different projects. I'm leading with Matt from BMP, the physical risk one. There is a team at Capgemini leading the transition risk. And then when you combine them, you want to integrate them into the financial system with as little disruption as possible to the embedded and legacy systems of financial firms. And hence, everything we've been developing has been around cloud native and data fabric native solutions. And we've come to this by looking at what is a commercial solution that the market needs, and then reverse engineering from that commercial solution of which components in that commercial solution are ideal candidates for open source collaboration at the pre-competitive layer. And we're probably going to do more work on identifying more componentry. But as I explained, the three major pieces of componentry today that are relevant are the data mesh, physical risk, and transition risk. And here's just a representation of all of those different elements and how they actually converge to make and create value for the members. And I will pause there and I'll take any questions if anybody has anything, or if I need to explain anything else.
And people can take advantage of the Q&A tool on Zoom if they'd like to ask questions now. We will also have time for Q&A at the end. So if you don't get the chance to be questioned now, we can come back to that shortly.
And I'll add with just one. Oh, sorry,
go ahead,
please.
Johnny.
I was just going to add one thing. To make these types of large projects real, we're putting very tight boundary conditions around a set of use cases. And one of the lead candidate use cases that would have very wide value for the community is around mortgages. We're starting with residential mortgages, which is very rapidly extensible to commercial mortgages, commercial real estate. But if you think about the financial system, whether or not it's banking that always wants to avoid first losses, it's always taking collateral for any type of lending. So looking at collateral in mortgages is really a narrow use case that should have benefits for every type of secured lending in the banking system. And all of those assets are linked to the insurance market because they have to be insured for part of the lending criteria. And then in the event that there's damage or destruction of those assets, that feeds directly through to the loss given default or loss given physical risk impact for all of the banking models. So this immediately links banking with insurance, and there's a convergence of interests on understanding of the data and the models used for pricing both the lending activity and the insurance premium. And then that filters through directly to the ultimate end user asset owners in the event that banks either securitize some of those loans, or if they syndicate other securities, which are senior secured or senior unsecured in the bond market or any other type of structured debt. So we're looking at as many as possible of the small, narrow use cases so that they're immediately extensible to add value to lots of other lending and insurance and investing activities.
And a real quick pitch, again, we'll at the end, we'll have the calls to action again, but this particularly the mortgage use case was something discussed in the tech sprint. So if you'd immediately like to get involved in some of those conversations, tomorrow's event on Thursday, and some of these will be explored in the tech sprint, whether or not we actually get a working proof of concept by end of September is perhaps less tangible.
And there's a lot of crossover here, Karl, as well, with the integration of existing successful projects at FINOS. So the CDM model and all the open reg tech is highly relevant to all sustainability reporting. It uses 70% of that reporting leans on the same type of financial balance sheet data. And then the standards of getting these types of data sets and models in the hands of end users relies on FDC3 standards. So there's an awful lot of crossover that makes this merger and the collaboration across these different projects really intelligent now.
And speaking on behalf of the AI Strategic Initiative, the LLM exploration team has been deeply looking at the data contribution framework provided by Open Source Climate as kind of the model that we're pursuing in terms of what openly licensed data might look like for training of use cases. So very exciting there. And also just a quick call out before I hand back to Jane, we do have the QR code here at the bottom left for Climate Week coming up September 23rd. So please feel free to scan that code if you'd like to register for the upcoming event. Jane, over to you.
I just wanted to add to that, Karl. I just wanted to add that we are to immerse the FINOS community into what's going on with OS Climate. We're curating a series of events. We will start at Climate Week on September 23rd. And if you are in New York and available that Monday afternoon, that's the QR code for you to scan and join us, where Johnny and some of our Capgemini colleagues will be diving into more detail about these projects. And then it will be followed, these presentations will be followed by the presentations at OSFF. We have a series of presentations and talks and workshops that are scheduled, as well as a kind of a pre-OSFF workshop event Monday morning. So please register yourselves, take a look at the schedule at OSFF, register for OSFF, and register for our mailing list so we can let you know about the Monday morning event as well. There are different levels. There's increasing levels of sort of deep diving into this topic, and we hope to see you there. And if you are not the person in your organization who's focused on climate, but you know colleagues within your organization who are, we would very much like for you to direct them to us and make an introduction, and we will engage. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, Jane and Johnny. And now I think we are over to the final announcements from Kendall, and then we will open up the floor for Q&A. And we are on great timing. So thank you to all of the panelists so much for keeping your presentations so informative. Well,
yes, thanks, Karl. So we have some exciting things coming up, as I'm sure y'all are well aware. OSFF New York coming up at the end of this month. Reminder that your codes will expire on after September 12th. So make sure to register before that deadline. And as Grizz mentioned earlier, if you can't find that code and you're a member, please send an email to osff.finos.org, and we can help you out. Also tomorrow, we have 2 events. We have the AI Readiness SIG member only NYC working session. You can sign up with the link here. I believe we emailed out that link as well. Also, tomorrow is the FINOS Tech coding session at the Microsoft offices. You could also sign up here. We can put these links in the chat as well to make it easy for everyone.
QR code also for the coding session.
Perfect. Okay. And then lastly, if you're a gold member, listen up. You'll have 3 seats coming available for the board of directors. And that nomination process will kick off at the beginning of November. So be on the lookout for an email from me in November.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kendall. We're now opening this up to Q&A. While we open up the floor for Q&A, I'm just going to re-put up the calls to action from earlier. So again, before my mic went all scratchy on the DEI slide, what I was saying is this good first issues aligns really closely with what the DEI SIG was talking about today. We will be using this good first issues page when we go to Grace Hopper. So it's a great way to kind of reach out to and get at top of the funnel of new coding talent, particularly in kind of the university, master's and PhD kind of academia focus for new talent. And the other note before my mic went out was also on the DEI. Very excited about the Professor Friedler's incorporation on the talk there, as she was my undergrad thesis advisor and taught me everything I know about ag responsibility. So with that, do we have any questions in the QA? Yeah. No open questions so far, but we do have 11 minutes left. So any last announcements from the FINOS team? We can keep things open for the QA to keep talking about. And reminder about, sorry, Grizz.
I was just going to tell everybody that we will be taking the presentation and the video and sending that to everybody who registered. Obviously, some people are registered and not able to attend. So that will be going out, I believe, tomorrow morning. And we will also be taking the individual pieces from our panelists, putting those online as well, so that if you had specific interest in OSC or AI or CCC and CFI, then you can view those as well. We'll be putting those on the GitHub repos, we'll be putting those on YouTube, and we'll be putting those on our website. And right now, when Morgan is adding in the chat information about the tech sprint and some of the other links that we had too. And James is asking, do you have any updates from board meetings or updates related to community contribution? I'll send it over to Jane, Gav, and Karl.
Not sure I totally understand the question. We did have a meeting this past Monday with the board, but it was a quick check-in. Mostly talked about activities we already discussed here, which is progress on strategic initiatives such as OS Climate and AI. And we talked about getting as many people as possible to register and take advantage of their membership value to register for OSFF as early as possible. And the follow-up question you have is, are there any board seats becoming free for nomination and pitches? Those are the gold member seats that Kendall mentioned. There are 3 seats up for re-election at the end of the year. Elections will start in November, and the new tenure starts on January 3rd. So, as Kendall said, we will be announcing that opportunity to apply as a gold member board representative in November. And I think never mind. I forgot what I was going to mention. Oh yeah, and there was a question about the talk, how to apply for the talk participation. There is an issue on GitHub where current applicants have been posting their candidacies, and that is the QR code right there.
At least it's to the repo, maybe not to the issues.
Yeah, right. But if you click on the issues, all the candidates are posted there.
Great. I think that's
the questions that we have so far. So we've still got some more time here while we're closing up. So I certainly will be sticking around to the top of the hour if anyone has any additional questions. James, I think from a community contribution standpoint, there's been some exciting work. More Fear Elm just released a new version. So that's a cool community contribution that we have there. The CFI work as they've been reemerging and taking on the AI readiness controls and building the implementation. That's been a really exciting development kind of coming from the community. There's been a new project, Radius, coming from the Azure incubation team that has been contributed to CNCF. And they've been engaging heavily in the TraderX side of the tech sprint, building out an orchestration. And they've also participated in the DevOps automation monthly SIG call and have had some open conversations with Architectures Code. So there's been a lot of ongoing conversations with that and active project management during the tech sprint, which has been very exciting to see. So, and going back to our call to action slide. So again, tomorrow is the in-person New York tech sprint side at the Microsoft office in Times Square in New York. But if you register virtually, will still be lots of opportunities to participate between now and end of September.
I also want to add that there are a lot of exciting news and developments in FDC3, but Rob Moffat is holding those close to his heart because he plans to announce them at OSFF. So there's a lot going on in FDC3, and you can probably see it on all the repos, but we're not spilling the beans here.
Yeah, it feels a little anticlimactic, like we have so much under wraps that we're keeping for the next couple of weeks. They were like, okay, yeah, we'd really love to tell you that's going on, but let's come to the conference.
Yeah, it could be.
And if you want, AI can give updates for half the call if you want. We kept things very narrow here. James asked if it's DC4 coming up.
Yeah. Good think about it. I wonder what that 4C would be about.
Yeah.
Collaboration. Confusing.
Yeah. Karl with a C.
FDC3 doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, so.
But seriously, it just takes a month of me being out for you guys to actually not only end on time these calls, but end 5 to 7 minutes early. Seriously, I mean, I was clearly the rule breaker. I'm really, Karl, I gotta take kudos. I'm very impressed. I am many things, like someone said lately, but I'm not always on time. Almost never.
11 years of ballet gave me at least, one valuable skill set.
That's not true. Ballet time makes everybody late.
Well, at least from curtain up to curtain down, at least my timing is.
I'm going to actually advertise ballet. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. If you have any more questions, then stick around. But otherwise, we will catch you in New York in about 2.5 weeks. Be there, be square.
And a big thank you to all of the panelists.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody. See you.
Thank you, guys.